Good morning and happy Wednesday. This FNGM here, ready to talk about Encounter Party. The very first episode of this actual play aired last night, and I have a lot of thoughts about it. So let's go ahead and get started. Roll the intro music, Tommy. Tommy doesn't actually exist. I'm alone in my basement and I don't have intro music. Ugh. The first episode of Encounter Party, and then there were four, aired last night on the Dungeons & Dragons Adventures Network. And I gotta say, I had a good time with it. I want to share with you my good thoughts about it, my not so good thoughts about it, and the things that I am most excited for next. Hey, you should know before we get started, this is gonna have spoilers. So if you haven't seen the first episode yet of Encounter Party, I'd recommend checking out one of my other videos. The first thing we do in this episode is we get introduced to the cast and characters of Encounter Party. First up, we get Landry Fleming, who's playing the role of Asher, the Harengon Wizard. Seated next to her is Kari Payton, playing the role of the Tabaxi Barbarian, Tolo. Then we get Andrew Krug, who plays the role of, who plays the role of Dridian, the Elven Paladin. Then we get to Ned Donovan, one of the producers of the show, playing the role of the Kenku rogue/bard Flick. After that, we get to meet Sarah Babe, who's playing the role of the halfling ranger Olavina. And lastly, we get David Lee Huynh, playing the role of Vin, the human fighter. Now, that's the party that's going to be going through the adventure, but we also have Brian David Judkins, playing the role of Ulred, the owlbear companion to Olavina. Okay, he's also the dungeon master and playing every single other role that shows up. But that Ulred's pretty spot on. Now, after the characters are introduced, they are launched straight into it, in media res, right in the middle of the action. The players find themselves facing a deadly eldritch horror in the middle of a bunch of ruins, with no explanation. I love in media res. Anyway, two of the characters are knocked out, and the others try to fight this strange, gelatinous eldritch horror, before they are quickly overwhelmed. But they wake up and they find out it's all a dream. But what's even stranger is we realize as the audience that they don't know each other. So they all had a collective dream about one another, and soon they meet and begin to discuss it. Of course, those who were taken out of the combat right off the bat have no memory of this, so that sort of deepens things a little bit, right? Now, after the party gets a chance to feel each other out a little bit, they head up to the top of the ship, and there they start to meet more people who are stranded on this ship along with them. Oh, I should have mentioned, the ship is magical, and it is stranded in the middle of the ocean, and it has, for some reason, no way to move forward. Well, the crew tells the party and everybody else gathered that they're going to have to start rationing food because they have no way to move forward. Anyway, so the party then starts to introduce themselves to everybody else who is also a passenger on the ship. We get to meet a slimy tabaxi merchant. We get to meet a tiefling sellsword. And we also get to meet a black dragon cleric of, we're not entirely sure who he's a cleric of, but it's pretty clear it's Ilmater because, hey, Forgotten Realms. Now, as the party is getting to know all these different people, we learn quickly that Flick, the Kenku rogue/bard, and the slimy Tabaxi merchant actually know each other. And the Tabaxi merchant has a job for Flick. He needs Flick to open a box down in the cargo hold for him. And it's he's going to get paid a little bit of money, and so Flick eventually agrees to this. Now, this scene happens away from the rest of the table because we learn as Flick is trying to open this box that we learn that a mysterious voice speaks to him while he is trying to go through the puzzle lock that is on this box. And at one point, he reads something and he goes blind, which is crazy. Anyway, he manages to solve the puzzle, opens the box, and we are not made aware of what's in the box. What's in the box? What's in the box? We are not made aware. They move back to meet with the rest of the party, and things continue forward. Now, eventually, things wind down, and it's time for everybody to head back to their rooms and get some much-needed shut-eye. But in the middle of the night, the entire ship wakes up. Well, not the ship, the people on the ship start to wake up when they realize that there's some sort of commotion going outside. When they throw open their doors, they discover that there has been a murder. How very Agatha Christie. Everyone is stuck on in this one large conveyance of motion, much like a train, but instead this time it's a boat. And we have a murder on board with this very colorful cast of characters. Awesome. I am in. And that's basically the episode. These episodes are only 48 minutes long, so there's not going to be a ton to cover in these reviews, which part of me is very thankful for, because I got other things to do other than watch 3 hours worth of D&D content every week. But if I could have the time, I'd probably still do a lot of other things. I'm a very busy guy. Okay, now I want to talk about the things that I loved about this episode. My wife and I watched it together, so I made sure that I sourced her for some of her favorite parts as well. The very first thing we noticed was the immediate infectious energy of the cast. They all seemed particularly excited to be there, and it really drew me in. My wife was mentioning that she thought Landry Fleming's depiction of Asher was very gripping in terms of that energy. So that's pretty fantastic. When it comes to the getting the action rolling, one thing that always happens, I feel, with new groups is that there's that kind of awkward, like, feeling each other out thing. And before we could really hit that moment of feeling like things were taking a little bit too long, Kari Payton just jumped right in, which I thought was a really cool move for somebody who hasn't really played with the rest of the others before, because the rest of the others did the original Encounter Party podcast. So Kari jumping in was just a solid move, kind of really showing that you don't have to be afraid to be at a table with people you don't necessarily know. You just got to be into the fun. I really enjoyed the immediate world immersion. I like that it wasn't just immediate lore dump of what world we're in and a whole bunch of unnecessary information, but instead we were shown that we were in the Forgotten Realms, such as the red cord wrapped around the black dragonborn cleric's hands. I thought that was a very nice touch. I would say that probably one of my favorite moments of this was, it's kind of a DM thing, right? When Brian took Ned aside to have that conversation, that little side bar that they had. They went to the kitchen, right? I really enjoyed that they didn't make everybody else at the table leave, and they instead made themselves leave. Now, I know that it can be hard on a budget to make a whole separate space to have those secret conversations, but they did have a budget and they used it wisely, and I thought that was a really classy move to not make everybody else get up and lead the table. So yeah, awesome. Now, there were a few things that threw me off a little bit. First of all, it's the first episode of a brand new campaign, so we do get that feeling of growing pains. People still trying to feel each other out. One thing that I think exacerbated this just a hair was when we had the dream sequence, the two characters were knocked out right off the bat. So as a result, when it came time to role play about that dream sequence, those two characters still didn't have much to say. So they were taken out of the first scene, and then the second scene that everyone was in, those two characters really didn't have much to add, which was a little depressing. And I kind of thought that as a result, their performances were very limited throughout the rest of the episode. But there's 22 episodes in the season. We've got plenty of time to get to know them, so I'm going to be fair about that. My wife wanted to mention that she thought the lights behind the Dungeon Master were really distracting. I didn't really feel that as much, but she did point that out, so I'm not going to leave it out. Okay, so I want to talk about the in media res beginning. I enjoy starting in the middle. When we jump straight into the action rather than having to sit at a tavern or something and go through awkward lore dumps of backstory. I cannot stand the awkward lore dumps of backstory, right? But I do think that the beginning of this was a little teeny bit jarring, and I feel that the players felt it was jarring too. I think starting in the middle of a fight was awesome. I think it would have been better if maybe we had like a little line of lead up, like, hey, here's what you see, now roll initiative. But it kind of felt like we were just going, bam, initiative. It's like, wait, what's happening? What? And I sitting on the couch watching this was like, what's going on? But again, these are just tiny things, right? Now, one thing that I've been made aware of is that each of these episodes take anywhere from 3 to 5 hours to actually play, and we only get to see the 48 most crucial minutes of that. So things are going to get cut out, and things may feel a little jarring at times. But that's something that took me a little bit to get used to. But I think by the end of the episode 1, I'm starting to understand the feel, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how it looks in the second episode and how the second episode goes. Okay, so some things that I'm really looking forward to. First of all, I have a number of questions about Flick, right? Like, is he a Kenku that can just talk? What's going on there? Because Kenku usually have a rule that they can only repeat things that they've heard. Now, granted, he's probably lived a long and full life, so he can repeat a lot of stuff, but it feels like he just talks, and that was interesting. What's the voice? Who's the voice that he's talking to? My current theory now, is that we are told that he's a rogue slash bard, but he's actually a warlock. So I'm going to be keeping a close eye on that and seeing that that's true, because it feels like there's a very warlock feel to this, which whatever this mysterious voice that he's listening to is, it's got to be something, right? It's got to be something really interesting. What's in the box? What's in the box? What's in the box? I want to know what's in that box. I definitely want to know what's going on here. Let's see. The dream sequence, right? Again, what is that all about, right? Is that some sort of psychic echo? Is it something in the future, like a portent of the future? I want to know what that's all about. And what I'm super curious on, right? What I'm super curious on is if that future can be changed, right? Like, because it kind of sucked to know that you're going to go into a fight and then be knocked out for those two characters. So I'm curious, when we eventually get to that point, what's like how does it all play out, right? I think that'll be fun. I think doing future visions is very difficult, especially in a D&D campaign where you can take any direction you want. So that's a ballsy move, Brian, but I'm here for it. I'm here to see it. And of course, lastly, the thing that I think I'm most interested to know about is the murder. What's going on? Who's dead and who killed him? Right? I love the Hercule Poirot movies that Kenneth Branagh has been doing recently. I'd say I'm a big Agatha Christie fan, but I've never actually read Agatha Christie. So right now I am tentatively a big Agatha Christie fan, but really I'm a Kenneth Branagh playing Hercule Poirot fan at this point. So yeah, I'm definitely into this whole murder mystery thing. So yeah, it's very exciting. All right. Well, hey, that is my review of the first episode. It's not very long. Not as long as my reviews usually are. So I look forward to seeing you for episode 2, and be sure to catch the next episode of Encounter Party, which airs at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. At on the Dungeons & Dragons Adventures Network on Plex and Freevee every Tuesday. Cool. I'll see you next week. Oh my God. Sorry. One more thing. What did you think of the episode? Did you enjoy it? Do you have any theories? Any things you loved about it? Any things you didn't so much like about it? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. Also, if you like this video, hit that like button. It really helps visibility. Also, if you just liked it, you might also consider hitting that subscribe button, because that would be really cool too. All right, that's it. All right, have a good one.